Are you thinking about moving? Or maybe just going on vacation? Well, the United States of America is a large country, and there are a lot of places to choose from. 50 states, in fact, and 51 if you count your state of mind. But some of those states are, well, not the most desirable. Alabama. And some are pretty great, especially these 10. You can count yourself lucky if you live in one of these states, which I've ranked according to their economy, safety, cost of living, and quality of life, among other things. And if you don't live in one of these 10 states, well, it's never too late to relocate. All right, you ready? Let's see how the states, stakes stack up. Statistically speaking, that is. Okay, you know what? I'm done. Let's just do this. Number 10, Hawaii. Hawaii, the rainbow state. And who doesn't love rainbows? Unless you are a dull, colorless person. Or maybe just colorblind? Yeah, probably that one. If the scenery alone isn't enough of a reason to live here, maybe the fact that it has the 4th lowest poverty rate in the US at just 9.5% is. The islands also have one of the lowest unemployment rates at just 2.8%. Although job satisfaction may be a bit lower than average considering that most of these jobs are in tourism. But the jobs must not be too stressful because Hawaii also has the longest life expectancy at birth. If you live the island life for your entire life, you can expect to grow to be at least 81 years old, providing you don't go crazy from island fever. Yeah, being trapped on a little patch of land in the middle of the Pacific Ocean isn't the most comfortable situation for some, especially if you live in Honolulu, where the population density is nearly 6,000 people per square mile. And that's not even counting the 10 million tourists who visit the islands every year. And if you want a vacation from, well, what most people would already consider vacation, you might not be able to afford it. To get back to the mainland, it's nearly a 6-hour flight, and airline prices aren't cheap. Hawaii has the highest cost of living out of all the states, and the median home value is $614,000. That's almost triple the national average. Paradise? Perhaps. But is the price tag worth it? Maybe you prefer somewhere a little more landlocked. Number 9, Idaho. If island life isn't for you, Idaho life just might be. It is the fastest growing state in the country for quite a few good reasons. To put it simply, Idaho is the American dream. Small business thrives here. There's gorgeous nature in literally every direction. It's the 5th safest state in the country, and the people are extremely friendly, which makes sense. I mean, they have a lot to be happy about. The Gem State boasts the 5th lowest unemployment rate in the country at just 2.6%, as well as the 6th best economy. And the capital, Boise, was just ranked as the #1 city to live in for 2019. But be warned, most people who move to Idaho never leave. So make sure you listen to the next 8 states before you make that decision. Number 8, Nebraska. Nebraska? Yeah, I know what you're thinking. Why would you want to move to a state where the most exciting thing to do is watch the corn grow? Well, because you're wrong, of course. While just a flyover state to most, Nebraska is surprisingly pretty eventful. There's a hip downtown scene emerging in both Lincoln and Omaha. And no matter what city you're in here, you can expect great schools, great job opportunities, and as if that wasn't enough, amazing food. I've lived in most of the big cities in this country, and honestly, the best food that I've ever had was still in Omaha. Sure, it might be a simple life, but honestly, a lot of people love that. Housing and the cost of living here are extremely cheap, and the people really do embody that whole Midwest nice thing. What more could you ask for in a place to call home? Number 7, Virginia. Oh, Virginia, the gracious state which gave some of its land to our nation's capital. It truly is beautiful here. The Blue Ridge Mountains lay to the west, the Luray Caverns occupy the north, and to the east, over 3,000 miles of pristine coastline. And unlike their neighbor West Virginia, Virginia really has perfected their social systems. The schools are among the best in the country. Crime is seriously low, and there's immense fiscal stability with the median household income at a whopping $72,000. That's $12,000 above the national average. The cost of living here isn't too high either, providing you stay away from the DC suburbs. The median home price is only $256,000. And if you have the means, a home here would certainly be worth the investment. Number 6, Colorado. Breathe in that fresh mountain air, cause number 6 brings us to Colorado, the Rocky Mountain state. The fresh air and beautiful mountain range featuring 58 14,000 foot peaks is enough to make anyone realize why this is the healthiest state in America. I mean, how could you not want to get on out and explore the great outdoors with an ecosystem like that in your backyard? But that isn't all. Alongside the recreational perks of Colorado, and I know it may seem a little surprising, but Colorado actually has the #1 economy in the country. Now that's a statistic to be proud of. The cost of living is pretty high though, and it can get a little dry once you get out of the mountains. Denver technically is a desert after all. If that's a problem for you, don't worry. Our next state's about to moisten things up. Number 5, Washington. Oh, Washington, the evergreen state, home to one of the biggest rainforests in America. Yeah, you heard me. Rainforest. Okay, so maybe not this kind of rainforest, more like this kind. And as if that wasn't enough scenery, you also have the gorgeous Palouse Hills to the east, the snow-capped Cascade Range running through the center of the state, and an incredible 3,000 miles of prime coastline to the west. In even better news, the cost of living here isn't nearly as expensive as some of the other scenic states we may or may not have mentioned. Hawaii and Colorado. Unless you're living in the Seattle area, of course. Everywhere else is pretty affordable. There's no income tax, and they're tied with Massachusetts for the highest minimum wage in the country at $12 an hour. Washington also boasts the fastest growing economy in America, so something is obviously working. And even though Seattle is a little pricey, it might be worth it since it has an extremely low unemployment rate of just 2.6% and some great job opportunities. After all, it is one of the tech capitals of the country. Just don't move here if you hate the rain. Number 4, Vermont. Now, I know the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of Vermont is probably a grumpy old guy with glasses and wispy white hair. But there's so much more to the Green Mountain State than just Bernie Sanders. Sure, there aren't any big cities, and only 600,000 people live in the entire state. But that's kind of the appeal to it. Vermont residents have the highest quality of life in America. Oh, Vermont. Look at you. You are looking really good. What's the secret? Oh, really? Your diet? Who would have known? Oh, you cut out fast food. Now that makes sense. Yep, the only state without a McDonald's in its capital also happens to be the state with the least number of fast food restaurants. Not only do you not have to worry about the unnecessary saturated fats though, you're also free to roam the great outdoors at your whim with little threat to your security. Vermont is the second safest state in the United States and also currently has the lowest unemployment rate at just 2.1%. And I haven't even mentioned the fall time yet. Not many places can compare to the beauty of an autumn in Vermont. Now, before we get to the top 3, this is my dog. Okay. Number 3, Massachusetts. You know, Massachusetts, you could have been number 1. Why do you have to be so darn expensive? If you didn't know, Massachusetts is consistently in the top 10 safest states, always has the best public education system, and has the lowest uninsured rate in the country, with under 3% of residents not having healthcare. And don't even get me started on all the high-paying job opportunities the Boston area offers. It is the hub of biotech and software research in America. And all this is just from a statistical standpoint. I haven't even mentioned the gorgeous coastline all along Cape Cod, the beautiful Berkshire Mountains to the west, and that Massachusetts is literally a living history book. So much of our country started here, and a lot of the buildings that existed 300-400 years ago are still here today. But there are a few problems. The Bay State might not be quite as expensive as Hawaii, but as the 3rd most expensive state in the country, it's pretty darn close. That is manageable for most Massachusetts residents, however. The median household income is $77,000 per year. That's 28% above the national average. But then again, the process that it takes to get to those fancy high-paying jobs, the traffic, oh dear lordy. The traffic is bad. Like, really bad. And if the traffic wasn't bad enough, the roads here have no order and no lane markers. It honestly looks like they let a kindergartner scribble the roads onto a map with a crayon. That's how random they are. But maybe all the traffic is for good reason. Everyone's trying to get into the best universities. Harvard, MIT, Tufts, Brandeis, Boston University, Boston College, Northeastern, you get the picture. Or maybe they're all trying to get to the big game, which in Massachusetts is every game. team. Boston arguably is the best sports city in the country, with the Red Sox, Patriots, Bruins, and Celtics all having won championships in their respective sports in the last decade. Or maybe you're just sitting in traffic trying to get some good grub, hungry for some of the best seafood in the country. Either way, the traffic and incredibly high parking prices are probably worth it, but they're also why Massachusetts is still only number 3. Number 2, Minnesota. What has super nice people, great outdoors, a highly impressive economy with many Fortune 500 companies calling it home, one of the top public education systems, and an unemployment rate under 3%? If I still have you guessing, here's another hint. This state is covered in lakes. That's right, Land of Lakes. No, not the butter. Minnesota, the land of 10,000 lakes. It is just right behind the number 1 state, Massachusetts, in higher education, with 50% of residents over the age of 25 possessing at least an associate's degree. That's almost 10 points above the national average. Not only are the people here well educated, they're also really healthy. Minnesotans share a love of the outdoors and staying active in their community, with tons of festivals and fairs to attend. There's literally one every day. As though that isn't good enough, it's also incredibly eco-friendly, and when it isn't snowing in the cold seasons, it's one of the most bike-friendly states. There's good reason so many people love living in Minnesota. It has the 3rd highest quality of life in the country, despite having some of the brutalest winters. In case you guys haven't noticed, by the way, I'm starting to see a pattern here. 5 of the top 10 states border Canada. Wait, Idaho, Washington, Vermont, Minnesota... That's only 4. Well, that's because our number 1 state is... Okay, quick, before we get to that, comment down below what you think the best state is, and be sure to subscribe and leave a like if you haven't already. If we get over 100 likes on this video, I'll do my top 10 worst states to live in America, but for now, let's keep it positive. So, what is number 1? Number 1, New Hampshire. No surprises here, another state that borders Canada and another piece of New England. New Hampshire is the best state to live in for 2019. The Granite State possesses the lowest poverty rate in the country at just 7.3%, was ranked number 1 in terms of economic opportunity for its residents, and is always in the battle for the lowest unemployment rate in the country. Currently, it's 3rd at 2.4% unemployment. New Hampshire also happens to be the 3rd safest state in the country, with virtually no crime, and has the best air quality of any state. There's no breathing in smog on your morning run here. New Hampshire ranks in the top 5 in pretty much every good statistic a state can have, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg to live here. There's no state income tax or sales tax, and while property taxes are a little high, the high quality of life makes up for it. The public schools here are among the best in the country, and there's beautiful scenery every which way. Just going for a drive up I-93 into the White Mountains really makes you feel like the land around you is enchanted. Sure, there aren't any gigantic mountains like in the West, but the nature all around just feels magical. I know that might seem weird if you haven't been here, but take a trip to New Hampshire and you'll see what I mean. So those were my top 10 best states to live in for 2019. If you disagreed about anything, let me know in the comments what your 10 best states are and why. Really, there are good and bad things about every state in this country. It's all a matter of perspective.